Krakow, Poland. I would have to say it's one of the most underrated and underappreciated cities in all of Europe. And I'd have to say Poland has one of the most underrated and under cultures in the whole entire world. The fans are insane, the atmosphere is fantastic, and in general, it has some of the most fierce, dangerous, and insane ultra groups in the whole entire world. And I'm George Jordan. I've had a chance to travel to Krakow, Poland, and here are 10 things you need to know about football in Krakow. Number 1, there are two main teams in Krakow. Cracovia and Wislaw Krakow are the two main teams in Krakow. They play each other in a game each and every year that might be the most intense and fierce rivalry in all of Eastern Europe. It's called simply the Holy War. I attended the match while I was in Poland, and it was nothing short of intense and fierce. The match has been going on since the 1920s. On the field, the match may have gotten a little less intense than it was before, but off the field, it's no joke. The hooligans that are affiliated with the two Krakow clubs are the only people who did not sign the 2004 Posen Pact. All other firms agreed to put down their weapons and stop fighting each other. Not these two firms. And it earned the city a fearsome nickname, the City of Knives. In 2011, Wisla hooligan group, the Sharks, were found guilty of murdering a member of the Cracovia hooligan group, the Jude Gang. Not even COVID could stop these two supporter groups from violence. And in an incident in June 2022, a machete attack left a Cracovia supporter hospitalized. So yeah, you can say these two teams hate each other quite a bit. During the derby days, you could see the writing on the wall, quite literally. Walking through Krakow, you could see graffiti on the walls referring to the upcoming Holy War all over the walls on the city and near the stadiums. Number 2, Cracovia and Wislaw Krakow stadiums are only 500 meters apart. Most of the time, rivals are miles apart. Sometimes it's a cross-town derby. Sometimes it's even a cross-country derby in Europe. Here in the USA, we can have rivalries like the LA Lakers and the Boston Celtics thousands of miles apart. The Cracovia and Wislaw stadiums are close. How close? Just 500 meters apart or approximately 1,600 feet away from each other. I attended the match at Cracovia Stadium, Stadion Kraków. And as I mentioned before, their heated rival Wislaw Stadium, Henrik Raymond Stadium, and I probably pronounced that wrong, only 500 meters away. That makes the rivalry even more heated due to the proximity. That basically means a Cracovia supporter and a Wislaw supporter could live maybe even next door to each other. Number 3, Wislaw was owned by communist police for 40 years, while Cracovia is known for their Jewish roots. As I mentioned, Wislaw was owned by communist police for about 40 years, and the Cracovia supporters referred to them as dogs. Why? Well, dogs is a derogatory term for police officers in Poland. Cracovias are known as Jews, basically, because of their Jewish roots. Cracovia supporters are sometimes known as the Jude Gang, and Jude in German means Jew. Now let's be mindful here of something very important and sensitive, because Auschwitz and everything bad it represents is very, very close, only a 30 or 40 minute drive away from Krakow. And what might seem like blatant and extreme anti-Semitism is somehow morphed into nothing more than just like football banter. That's for the most part only in Poland. Many say that the graffiti, the anti-Jewish chants should be understood for nothing more than football. It has nothing to do with religion or actually hating Jewish people. It's been referred to as a constructed enemy, and the word Jude or Jew actually refers just to Cracovia supporters, because Cracovia supporters have people of all different types of religion. And I just hope that's true, because in general, it's hard to accept it as just that. Because if you look back at the history of Polish football, in the 1930s, for example, Wislaw Krakow banned not only any Jew from being on the team, but any non-Polish person to play for the team. Many other clubs followed that suit, except Cracovia, who decided not to follow that, hence the Jewish roots and the difference between the two clubs at that time. Hence the Holy War and the absolute extreme rivalry. Number 4, war couldn't even stop these two teams from playing. Nothing can stop these two teams from playing, not even war. On September 2nd, 1939, the match was supposed to take place, but it didn't happen. Why? Because of a German invasion, many of the players had to go to the battlefield, and many of them didn't even come back. In Germans, they prohibited all sporting events, but that didn't stop anyone. Play on the outskirts of cities, and thousands of people would come to watch the match, knowing that if they got caught, it could mean death. And then in 1942, the derby finally didn't take place because the Nazis actually got word of the match and they stopped it. So the next year in 1943, when the match returned, over 10,000 people came to watch it. After Cracovia was awarded a penalty towards the end of the match, the player who was going to take the free kick got attacked. No, not by the fans, but by other players from Wislaw Krakow. Absolute mayhem in this rivalry. Number 5, John Paul II was a Cracovia supporter. So Pope John Paul II was supposedly a huge Cracovia supporter. He was a local kid from Krakow, and he was a big fan of the team. And it goes to show, yes, the team may have some Jewish roots and Jewish backgrounds. It shows that even if you are not Jewish, you can still be a supporter of that club. Pope John Paul II was the first non-Italian pope in history. If you ever visit Krakow, you can visit the Center of John Paul II ticket. Number 6, the tickets are actually very cheap to the match. Tickets to football matches or any sporting events around the world can be expensive. English Premier League matches could be upwards of $100 or £100, €100, whatever you refer to. But attending a match in Krakow is not expensive at all. I bought tickets to the Holy War 3 days before the match for a total of 40 zloty, or just over $8 US. Now, I can't talk about the experience of buying tickets to a Wislaw match because I bought tickets to a Cracovia match, but it was a lot more simple than I actually anticipated. You just visit Cracovia's website, you can Google it, or cracovia.pl. You buy the tickets online. Make sure you have your documents ready. You got to put in your passport number, identification. You put it into the website, and then they email you the ticket, and it's all done digitally. You can print them out, or you can just show it on your cell phone. Number 7, there is usually beer at the stadiums, but not for derby days. Look, we all like to throw a good beer down at the stadium. And usually you could do that in Krakow and in Poland in general, except at the Holy War and other derby days. Alcohol, as you can know, gets people a little bit wild, a little bit loose. So I guess it makes sense not to liquor up people too much before an intense and extreme and fierce rivalry match like the Holy War. But are you wondering what is the most famous beer in Poland? Zuber, which has a 13.5% market share of all beer in Poland. And it takes after Poland's national symbol, a majestic European bison. Number 8, the food at the stadium was great. I can't speak for what food is like I said at Wislaw, but at Cracovia, the food was really, really good because it featured one of my favorite foods and favorite dishes, not only in Poland, but in the whole entire world. And that's kielbasa. Kielbasa is the integral part of Poland's culture. Made from any type of meat, but mostly pork. Pork is maybe the most traditional type of meat they make kielbasa out of. And it's freaking delicious, man. At Cracovia Stadium, man, they got barbecues inside the stadium in like the hallways, and people are barbecuing kielbasa. You buy them for a couple bucks here and there, and they're so good. I couldn't even just do one. I came back after halftime and got my second kielbasa because I love kielbasa so much. And here in the States, whenever I'm barbecuing, I always throw kielbasa on the grill. Huge fan of that, and you gotta try it even if you don't go to a match in Poland. If you're ever in Poland in general, get a kielbasa. Number 9, the atmosphere at the Cracovia match is absolutely amazing. I can't really stress how much I enjoyed the match at Cracovia. It was so much fun. From the pre-match beers, and I met some friends outside the stadium that I had just met that day. We had some beers and walked to the stadium together. It was just absolutely fun. That's the best way to describe it. And people were friendly, despite it being a derby day, despite the fierce rivalry, despite the hundreds and hundreds of police officers in armory I saw at the stadium, people were quite friendly. But then again, I'm not a hooligan or part of an ultra group for these two clubs. Maybe if I was wearing some gear and I was really being obnoxious about one of the clubs, maybe I wouldn't have had such a pleasant time. And number 10, let's not forget of how amazing of a city Krakow is. Look, I started off this video by saying that I think Krakow is one of the most underrated and underappreciated cities in all of Europe. And I truly believe that. Charm I felt in Krakow, when I think back at it, it gives me goosebumps. It raises the hair on my arms. It's the second largest city in Poland and arguably the most beautiful. Arguably. It's once the capital of Poland, actually. It's a super young city. There are 3 world-renowned universities in Krakow and a total of 23, yes, 23 universities in Krakow. So that makes the population pretty young, pretty hip, and pretty dynamic. It's a lot of 18 to 22, 23, 24, 25-year-old master's students in this city, so you feel like really young and really hip at this city. And you can't think of Krakow without thinking of its beautiful, beautiful Old Town. And it was declared a UNESCO Heritage Site in 1978. The square of Old Town Krakow is in the center of the city and dates back all the way to the 13th century. It's one of the largest medieval squares in all of Europe. There's St. Mary's Basilica, which was built in the 14th century, the Wawel Castle, and it was built for King Casimir the Great, the Third, the Great one of the hardest names of all kings I've ever heard of. Wow, Cathedral, and many, many other more amazing landmarks. And of course, you can't talk about Poland without talking about vodka. Vodka is one of the national symbols of Poland and one of the things that's most associated with the country. You can't go to Poland, especially Krakow, without having some flavored vodka. I tried many different flavors and they're all delicious, but I have to say my favorite was chocolate. Overall, you might not associate Krakow with football. You might not associate Poland always with football, despite their team being pretty good on the national level. If you like to travel and you like sports, this is one of the greatest experiences you could ever do. Just make the leap. Next time you're in Europe, or if you just need a vacation and you want to go to Poland, make that leap, get the calendar, find the Holy War, and attend one of the coolest derbies you could ever attend in the whole entire world. Thanks, guys. I'm George Arjour. Make sure you like and subscribe to this channel if you like this type of content. I really appreciate it, and we'll see you next time.